Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 2.3 out of sequence activities. How to show out of sequence activities in Primavera B6. First step, click F9, then mark on lag to file. After that, choose a location on your device and also mark on as HTML. Then click on schedule. Next step, click on F9 again. After that, click on view log. After clicking on view log, this report will be appeared. We have section here for out of sequence activities. You have activity ID, activity names, and also the number of the out of sequence activities. Let's see some critical scenarios of the impact of out of sequence activities on the project timeline. The first scenario, we use progress override in updating the timeline. As shown here, the original relationship between activity A and activity B is finish to start. However, activity B started and in progress before the completion of activity A. That means activity B is an out of sequence activity. But according to the original relationship in the baseline, activity B should be completed after the completion of activity A. Let's consider activity A is a block work and activity B is plastering. So it is not logic that activity B finish before activity A. It is essential to complete block work prior to finishing plastering work. The recommended action to solve this issue, first step is to delete the original duration between both activities, which is finish to start. Second step, add new relationship start to start between both activities. Third step, add new relationship finish to finish with reasonable lag to be sure that activity B, which is plastering, will be finished after activity A finish date. Step number 4, modify the remaining duration of activity B to shift his updated finish date later than activity A finish date, as shown here. We add duration for the remaining duration of activity B to make sure that activity B will be completed after the completion of activity A. The second scenario, if you use retained logic in updates. By using retained logic, the remaining start date of activity B will respect the original relationship between activity A and activity B as mentioned in the baseline. So the remaining start of activity B will start after the completion of activity A. But also, this is not logic. I already started in activity B and there is a progress. So it's not logic to wait all of this time to start activity B again. There is unjustified gap between the data date and the remaining start of activity B. This also will impact the distribution of resources. For example, contractor labors. If you show remaining labors in Primavera B6, you will find that the period between the data date and the remaining start date of activity B is empty. There is no remaining labor at this period, and this is not logic. So if I depend on this information extracted from Primavera B6, I will face shortage of manpower in site. Of course, the recommended action is to resolve the out of sequence activities. The third scenario, we are using progress override in updates, and we have 3 areas in our project: WBS number 1 and WBS number 2, which will be started after the completion of activity A in WBS number 1. However, WBS number 3 or area number 3 will be started after the completion of all work included in WBS 1 or area number 1. But according to the actual status or update using a progress override, WBS number 3 started before the completion of WBS number 1. That means there is out of sequence activities in WBS number 3. This actual status and out of sequence could potentially result in the contractor losing the rights to an extension of time, if any, as the project completion date is shifted so early as a result of out of sequence. This is the updated finish date, and this is the original finish date. Of course, this status shows a fake progress or a fake ahead of schedule status. Recommended actions: the contractor should revise the baseline, prepare a revised baseline schedule by analyzing the overall plan, including the sequence between different areas of the project and the availability of resources to ensure coverage for activities planned to start simultaneously or concurrently. Scenario number 4. In this scenario, we are using retained logic in update, and of course, the situation in this scenario is totally wrong because WBS number 3 or area number 3 has already started and in progress, and the waiting time between the data date and the remaining start date of activity A is unjustified. It's not logic, and this is affecting the overall progress information. Therefore, the contractor has to restudy the overall plan, including the sequence between different areas of the project and the availability of resources to ensure coverage for activities planned to start at the same time or at the same period. We have mentioned only 4 scenarios, but there are more critical scenarios that affect the results of the schedule due to this issue, which is out of sequence activities. Therefore, we recommend the following. First point, resolve out of sequence activities in regular updates. Number 2, create a log of changes that documents and explains any modifications made in each update. Number 3, the reviewer should ensure that there are no changes that benefit one party in the contract in a submitted claim. Number 4, regularly review the logic of the schedule as it serves all parties and departments involved. The conclusion: it is essential to resolve out-of-sequence activities before starting work on delay analysis. Thank you very much. See you next session.